Ghost of Yotei is one of those rare sequels that gets everything right. After nearly 40 hours of slicing through enemies with 5 different weapons, hunting down revenge target across frozen landscape, and experience one of the most polished launches in recent memory, I can tell you exactly why this game deserves your attention. This isn't just another open world action game, it's a masterclass of refinement that makes the predecessor looks like a rough draft, and that's saying a lot because Ghost of Tsushima was one of my absolute top 5 games ever. Let me cut straight to the chase. If you're wondering why Ghost of Yotei is worth buying at full price, the answer is absolutely yes. The combat alone justifies the purchase, but when you factor in stunning visuals, rock solid performance, meaningful side content, and complete lack of predatory monetization, you're looking at one of the most best value propositions in gaming right now. Before we dive deep, let me tell you what you're getting into. This is a complete finished game with no microtransactions, no battle passes, and no content locked behind additional payments. In an era where games constantly release broken and incomplete, Yotei ships in a state that puts most AA releases to shame. I encountered maybe like 3 minor glitches in like 40 hours, no crashes, no game breaking bugs, no performance issues, just a polished complete experience from start to finish. The game runs locked in at 60 frames per second in performance mode in standard PS5, maintaining that target even during the most chaotic battles with dozen enemies swarming you and particle effects everywhere. Load times are essentially non-existent, fast travel takes like 3 seconds, respawning is instant, and there's no texture pop-in or LOD transitions visible during gameplay. This is the level of technology excellence that shouldn't be marketable, but in today's gaming landscape, it absolutely is, and we love to see it. The biggest change from Ghost of Tsushima is the complete overhaul of the combat system, and it's a gamble that plays out brilliantly. Gone is the stand system where you switch between 4 different weapon styles to counter enemy types. Instead, you now carry 5 distinct weapons that fundamentally change how you approach every encounter. The katana remains your baseline weapons, rewarding precision and timing above all else. When you're in one-on-one duels with another swordsman, time seems to slow down. Not through any mechanical slowdown motion, but because every decision carries weight. Do you test their defense with quick strikes? Wait for another opening? Try to break their posture? These split-second choices create moments of incredible tension that no other combat system quite captures. The dual swords turns you into a whirlwind of death, perfect for crowd control. This animation work here is exceptional. Atsu just doesn't wildly swing 2 blades around, but performs actual dual wielding techniques that feels authentic and powerful. You can chain attacks between enemies with a fluidity that makes you feel like you're conducting a symphony of violence. The Yara Spear includes spacing and range control that completely changes the combat dynamic. You're keeping aggressive enemies at bay, pushing their approaches, controlling the battlefield in ways that weren't possible in Tsushima. The Rodachi is the massive 2-handed sword that delivers devastating power that sends enemy flying. Every swing it has weight where you can feel throughout the controller. But the real star here is the Kurashigama, the chain weapon that feels unlike anything I've used in any action game. It has range like the spear, but completely different properties. You can break shields, perform wide sweep attacks, and even conduct long-range stealth kills by throwing the weight in at enemies. There's rhythm to using it that's almost musical, requiring you to maintain momentum through properly timed swings and pulls. Switch to the Yara as others back up to control space, swap to the Kurashigama to break shield, and then finish with the Odachi devastating power. This entire sequence takes 15 seconds, but feels like you've choreographed a brutal dance. The game gives you all these tools and trusts that you use them creatively. Perfect parries are more important than ever, especially on harder difficulties. The timing windows are tight but fair, and successfully parrying flows beautifully into counterattacks. There's new disarm mechanic where enemies can knock your weapons away, forcing you to either retrieve it or grab a fallen enemy's weapon. You can also disarm enemies yourself, leaving them vulnerable to quick executions. The addition of firearms, a musket and a flintlock pistol, acknowledges the early 1600s settings without breaking the game's balance. The musket takes forever to reload, pierces heavy armor, but the pistol is faster but less powerful, perfect for creating openings. These aren't crunch weapons you'll spam, but tactical options that add another layer of combat. I need to emphasize just how stunning Ghost of Yotei looks and sounds because screenshots and YouTube comparisons just don't do justice. This isn't just technical prowess, though the game certainly has that. It's the artist's direction that combines with technical execution that creates something genuinely special here. The shift from Ghost of Tsushima's golden autumn palette to Yotei's very seasonal environment immediately sets a different tone. Snow-covered mountains give to variant forests. Cherry blossoms rain down pink snow. Fields of white flowers create rivers of light through golden grass. Every biodome feels distinct not just visually but atmospherically. The improved draw distance from Ghost of Tsushima cannot be overstated. Standing on a mountain peak and seeing the 4 miles in every direction with no pop-in or LOD transition creates a sense of scale few open world games can achieve. You can spot smoke from camps, birds circling points of interest, and storm clouds rolling in from the horizon. It makes the world feel real and alive rather than just game space. Every weapon has its own complete animation set, from auto poses to attacks to sheathing. Her own clothing even moves realistically with wind and movement. Facial animations during the cutscenes convey subtle emotions effectively. Blood spatters persist on environment and your character until clinked off. Fire spreads realistically through grass and structures. These aren't just visual flourishes, but elements that impact gameplay. The soundtrack deserves equal praise as well. The music blends traditional Japanese instruments with modern composition to create something both authentic and fresh. The shamisen becomes the most important character itself. Combat music ramps up dramatically based on the action intensity. The environmental audio is incredibly detailed. Different footstep sounds for snow depth, weapon clinking softly together, Asu breathing changes based on exertion. Voice acting excels across the board in both English and Japanese, which is very rare. Erika Ishii's English performance as Atsu brings complex emotion, determination, vulnerability, and barely contained rage. The Japanese cast is equally impressive, and both languages have full lip sync, which remains surprisingly rare. The DualSense implementation on PS5 adds another sense of immersion layer. Adaptive trigger provide resistance when drawing your bow or loading your musket. Haptic feedback allows you to feel the difference between surfaces, the tension during blade clashes, even rain patterning. These seem like small details but collectively creates a more tactical experience. The open world structure flows Tsushima's philosophy, but with the meaningful refinements of addressing the original shortcomings. Yes, you're still clearing camps and finding collectibles, but the presentation and integration makes them feel less like a checklist item and more like organic parts of your journey. The most significant change is how the world reacts to your action. In Tsushima, clearing camps was satisfying momentarily, but had little lasting impact. In Yotei, every action against the Yotei 6 force triggers reactions. Clear enough camps and you'll trigger a scene where your enemy leader acknowledges your efforts and adjusts tactics. Patrol becomes more numerous and better equipped. Ambushes grow and more sophisticated. The world pushes back tangibly, making every encounter feel connected. Navigation remains largely UI free, with wind guiding you towards your objective. But Yotei adds visual landmarks that makes exploration feel more natural. Smoke columns rise from camps, visual from great distance. White flowers create natural paths through fields, and following them actually increases your mount speed. Wildlife guides you towards secrets, not just foxes, but wolves leading to hunt grounds, butterflies near hidden shrines. The game respects your intelligence in ways many open world games don't. There's no eagle vision highlighting every interactive object. We're looking at you, Assassin's Creed. No detective mode trivializing investigations. When tracking someone, you actually look for their footprints in disturbed vegetation. When searching for hidden interests, you observe and think logically about placement. It's refreshing to play something that trusts you to figure things out without hand-holding. One of my biggest surprises with Ghost of Yotei was how engaging the side content is. After years of repetitive open world padding, Yotei makes almost everything feel worthwhile and interesting. This isn't just about better rewards, but it's about making each activity feel unique and connected through the larger world. The shrines have completely overhauled from just simply performing challenges. Each feels unique. One might require solving environmental puzzles, another might test stealth skills, while some involve combat trials. Since character upgrades tie directly to finding shrines rather than grinding experience, there's real incentive beyond just completing. Gone is that generic fetch quests that just, hey, clear this camp objective. Instead, you get multi-part stories with their own character and meaningful rewards. One questline had me tracking a legendary bower whose brother went missing, leading to encounters with hidden shinobi and revelations about secret wars in Indo shadows. These aren't just throwaway content, but they're complete narratives that enhance the main story. The mythical tales are some of the best content in the game as well. These elaborate quests blur the line between reality and legend, sending you on unique journeys through mechanics and stunning set pieces and rewards that generally change how you play. One had me climbing a mist-shrouded mountain following a legendary warrior ghost. What started as straightforward became increasingly surreal with gravity-defying performance and enemies that might have given off hallucinations. The playoff between both narrative and gameplay made it absolutely worth it. Even returning activities like bamboo cutting and hot springs have been enhanced. Bamboo stands presents different challenges with increasingly complex button combinations requiring precise timing. Hot springs now have specific conditions triggering unique scenes or conversations. Visit during a thunderstorm for reflection on contrast between hot water and cold rain. These small touches make activities feel grounded rather than just disconnected minigames. Boss fights that tell stories. The Yotei 6 serve as the primary antagonists and boss fights, each memorable in their own way. These aren't just health sponges that with fancy titles, but fully realized characters with distinct fighting styles and personalities and connected to Atsu's past. The game lets you tackle almost in any order, adding player agency to the revenge narrative. Each member themes around different creatures: snake, oni, spider, and dragon. These themes influence everything from fighting styles to environments. The snake fights with poison and deception using quick strikes and misdirection. The oni relies on brute strength with massive weapons shattering your guard. The spider uses agility and traps, turning the battlefield itself into a weapon. The fights themselves are multi-phases affair testing everything you've learned. They're not just Dark Souls level difficulty, but require understanding combat mechanics and using all abilities. Each boss has subtle tells requiring attention and learning through experience rather than just reacting to obvious windups. What elevates these beyond simple boss fights is the narrative weight. These aren't just random stronger enemies, but people directly connected to Atsu's worst life moments. The game established each character before fighting, making confrontations feel personal and meaningful. Some you'll hate, some you'll enjoy defeating. Others might earn sympathy despite everything. The environment for each fight are spectacular set pieces adding drama. You might duel on a frozen lake crackling beneath your feet, or a burning collapsing building, or in a white flower field becoming a blood-stained battle range. These aren't just areas for stages for dramatic confrontations feeling ripped from the best samurai films. Now let's talk about the narrative driving everything forward. Atsu isn't just your typical video game protagonist. She's not a noble samurai struggling with honor codes like Jin Sakai was in the original game. She's a mercenary who never had access to privileged world of sanctioned justice. The game calls her a sword wielding a sword, a weapon giving human form pointed at enemies and set loose. The game centers around hunting the Yotei 6, the group who murdered Atsu's family when she was just young. She was pinned to a tree and that tree was set to fire and she was left for dead. Her survivors spawned rumors that she was an Anryo and an unkillable vengeful spirit. She's neither confirms or denies this, using the fear as another weapon. What surprised me most is how the narrative handles predictable revenge story elements while still surprising you. Yes, you're hunting 6 bosses in flexible orders. Yes, each represents different trauma aspects, but how encounters play out, revelations about who these people really are versus Atsu's belief, and the personal cost of killing each creates weight many revenge stories lack. The first of the 6 that I encountered was actually the snake, and it perfectly set the tone. After burning his compound and watching his men flee, I expected a typical boss introduction, and instead he emerged slowly, almost tiredly, like someone was expecting this moment for 20 years and almost reveled that I was here. He put on his mask with resignation and not fury. That moment tells you everything that you needed to know. This isn't just a good versus evil, it's something more complex and morally ambiguous. The flashback sequences interrupting the stories are practically done. We shift seamlessly between adult Atsu's revenge quest and young Atsu learning from her mother. These aren't just exposition dumps, but character building moments showing why Atsu became who she is. Her mother teaches her about music, finding beauty in harsh words, the importance of connections. The game takes place in 1603 in Etsu's Northland's modern day, 300 years after Jin Sakai's journey. This isn't just a geographical shift, but a complete reimagining of the Ghost game can be. Where Tsushima gave golden fields and autumn colors, Yotei presents a snow-draped world punctuated by vibrant forests and dominated by mountain Yotei's imposing presence. The change immediately sets a different tone. This is a harsher world, literally and figuratively. The snow doesn't just look pretty, though it absolutely is. It represents our protagonist's quest for cold nature. This is revenge stripped of honor codes and noble intention. The inclusion of the Ainu people and culture adds deep in authenticity. The game treats their presence respectfully, incorporating traditions and perspectives into various quests. You'll learn more about their nature relationships, oral tradition, and their own struggles in changing world. One memorable quest involves helping preserve endangered stories, using gameplay to become part of the oral tradition. Wildlife behavior has become significantly enhanced. Animals don't exist in the background, they actually behave believably. Deer graze but flee at approach. Wolf hunt in packs using actual tactics. Bear are generally dangerous. Bird behavior provides information. Circling birds might indicate battles. Scattered birds suggest recent passages. The weather system exceeds visual variety. Storm reduce visibility and mass movement sound, making stealth easier but navigation harder. Heavy snow slows movement and obscured tracks. Wind affects arrow trajectory, smoke dispersal, and even some combat techniques. The technical achievement here cannot be understated. Running on standard PS5, the game maintains rock solid 60 frames per second in a performance mode while delivering stunning vistas. The draw distance improvements lets you see from miles with incredible detail. No visible pop-in. PS5 Pro enhanced mode manages 60 frames per second in ray tracing reflections and global illumination. The difference is almost noticeable indoors and during draw and dust lighting. Water reflections particularly benefit from ray tracing. Whether these improvements justify the Pro's premium price is debatable, but if you own the console, Yotei uses the extra power very well. The quality mode targets 30 frames per second on any PS5 variant. While stable, the responsiveness reduction is noticeable in timing and focused combat. The visual improvements are substantial, native 4K, enhanced effects, and ray tracing on compatible hardware, but I do miss the performance mode's fluidity. Load times are essentially non-existent. Fast traveling takes about 3 seconds. Death responding is instant. Internal game loading is the longest wait, still under 10 seconds. The game uses clever streaming techniques, hiding any gameplay loading through environmental transitions. The main story alone takes 20 to 25 hours focused, extending to 40 to 45 hours with all side content. Unlike many open world games where extra time is padding, nearly everything in Yotei feels meaningful and worth doing. The game includes no microtransactions, battle passes, or modern monetization schemes. Everything is earned through gameplay, and all cosmetics and upgrades content included in initial purchase. In an era of gaming designed on ongoing money transaction services, Yotei feels refreshingly complete and consumer friendly. Post-launch support is promised though not detailed. Following Toshima's model, expect free content upgrades, adding cosmetics and possibly gameplay modes, with great paid expansion later on. The base game feels complete, though additions are bonuses rather than just gap filling. Where it stumbles, no game is perfect, and Yotei has some shortcomings though. Relatively minor overall, however. Enemy variety. While improved from Toshima, it becomes pretty predictable eventually. Only so many bandit and samurai and archer variations exist before encounters feel similar. The game tries mixing the combination, environmental hazards, but by 40 hours in, you've seen almost every standard enemy that has to offer. Platforming sections. While more elaborate than Toshima, it feels somewhat misplaced in samurai combat focused games. Climbing mechanics are functional but not particularly engaging, lacking dedicated performer fluidity. These sections aren't bad, just forgettable pacing breaks rather than exciting gameplay. Some writing, particularly in smaller side quests, can be uneven. While the main story and major content are well written, smaller quests fall into the generic RPG writing. Characters exist solely for task giving, dialogue only providing objective markers, and rewarding mismatching narrative weight. These moments are rare but noticeable against generally high writing quality. The game structure, allowing the freedom in tackling the Yotei 6, can create pacing issues. Depending on the approach order, certain revelation might feel mistimed or difficulty spikes misplaced. The game tries accounting with scale system, but this isn't always successful. After 40 hours with Ghost of Yotei, I can confidently say that this is one of the best action adventure games in recent years. It takes everything that from Ghost of Tsushima's special and refines it into something even better. The combat is exceptional, offering depth and variety, keeping encounters exciting throughout. The weapon system meaningfully evolves from Ghost of Tsushima's stances, providing more options and flexibility. The story, while treading familiar revenge grounds, is elevated by strong character and excellent performances, and enough surprises maintaining engagement. The open world is gorgeous, dense with meaningful content, and joyful to experience. Technical performance is outstanding, rock solid frame rates, minimal bugs, and the visual presentation is pushing PlayStation 5's capabilities. Attention to detail in animation, sound, and design and environmental effects create incredible immersive experience few games can match. If you enjoyed Ghost of Tsushima, Yotei is essential. It's everything that you've loved, but better almost everywhere else. For series newcomers, this is a perfect entry point, complete with standalone story, gameplay refinements, and making it more accessible than ever. For action game fans, samurai fiction enthusiasts, or for beautiful open world lovers, Ghost of Yotei is easy to recommend. It respects your time with meaningful content, it respects intelligence with minimal hand-holding, it respects investment with complete packages free of predatory monetization. Ghost of Yotei succeeds because it understands what made its predecessor so special while having confidence to make meaningful changes. This shift from Jin's honor-bound journey to Asu's revenge chaos creates a different emotional tones, helping establish independence and identity. Ezo's frozen Northlands feels distinct from Tsushima's autumn fields while maintaining natural beauty and historical atmosphere. Thank you all for watching this review. If you found this helpful, please consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell. It really helps. And if you want to catch me live, then link is in the bio for my Twitch channel while I do gameplays and game reviews live. Drop your comment below if you're going to pick up this game and let me know how you feel about it. I'd love to read each one. Until next time, stay safe out there, stay happy, and then stay alpha.